everybody. Welcome to Beyond the Trailer Park, eventually. Yes. So, Murphy apparently is out having a lot of fun tonight because everything that could fuck up got fucked up. And we're, like 40 minutes late. So, sorry about that. But we're here. We're functioning. That's the important thing. So, joining us, as always, in Pennsyltucky there, we have Beth. Good evening. Good. Excellent. And over in the wilds of Mississippi, we have Miss Morgan.
Hey.
And over in New England, we have Ms. Tracy.
Hello.
Howdy. And joining us this week, we have the pleasure of the crew of Atheism101 podcast, and that would be Matt and Tim. And Matt, you're also over in Pennsyltucky.
Yes. Hello.
And we have Tim over there in Jersey.
Yeah, dirty Jersey.
I just like saying Jersey.
Yeah, it's completely fine. Jersey's absolutely the worst state in the union. So it's dirty, it smells, but
worse than West Virginia.
But I'm pretty close to New York City. So
West Virginia is stunning.
West Virginia,
I will not hear this about West Virginia.
No. West Virginia is beautiful. It's the rest of what's in West Virginia.
I know.
I live in Mississippi. Don't tell me what's the worst state in the Union. My state flag is a fucking Confederate flag still.
Yeah.
Who's your governor?
Phil Bryant, or Phil Billy as I call him.
Ours is Chris Christie. We're the worst state.
Phil Bryant went abandoned our state.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I might win the worst governor. I got Paul LePage.
Oh yeah,
I have
he's
no
a
idea who
great
that is. So.
person.
You got LePage.
He was Trump before Trump was Trump.
Oh.
Yeah.
He was nuts.
He's the one who said, big fucking deal about, I can't remember the name of the BPA, because what's the worst that'll happen is that some women will grow beards.
Oh.
Yeah, and then he said that like black people go to Maine to like go impregnate white women, and then they run
drug
away.
dealers
They're all
named,
drug
like-
dealers and shit.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
what the hell's wrong with you?
Oh,
Like,
yes.
Drug dealers with names like D Money come and
Yep.
impregnate young white girls.
Yep,
Yeah.
I remember that. I think we
Yeah,
talked about
that's-
that. on
Yeah,
the
that's
show.
mine. So I don't know. I think I win. I
never-
The worst
don't know.
governor
It's a
yet.
close tie with Chris Christie, though.
Yeah,
But
he's
what
pretty
the-
terrible.
He's pretty bad.
My friend Bridget, that's from Indiana, and up until recently had Pence.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
that's pretty bad.
everybody's governor sucks, and I don't know mine because I've only lived here a couple months and I haven't looked that up.
Isn't it still isn't it still Casey from
Not too bad.
when I still lived there?
I don't know. I'm the Canuck, so I don't know who. I know many governors. I don't know all of them, so I do what I can. I just happen
You guys
to,
just have one governor up there, right? It's like
We
one
have-
president and one governor.
No, we have a governor general, and every province has a lieutenant governor.
Oh,
Your country's not real.
and then you just have Hanson McGorgeous Pants as your prime minister.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I am so calling him that now.
You guys will laugh. In January, I was over to Buffalo and Batavia, New York, visiting some friends, and I was waiting for my friend Shujin to come and meet me, and we were meeting at the Walden Galleria Mall, and they were running a little bit behind. I had about half an hour to kill, so I went in the mall, and they had a Sephora, and I like Sephora, and for you gentlemen may not know, Sephora is a makeup
Jewelry.
store.
Oh, was it jewelry? I thought.
Nope, makeup.
Makeup.
I tried.
Expensive makeup. But there's a couple of things I like out of there. So I'm like, oh, I'll go to Sephora. And I found a couple of things. So I'm talking with the sales girl. She's like, oh, you're from Canada? You've got Justin Trudeau. He's what? I'm like, yeah, I remember when because he's only 3 months older than me. So I'm like, yeah, I remember when he was a kid and I used to see him on TV, because this is total deja vu for me, because Prime Minister Trudeau means his father to me.
Yeah.
I grew up under Pierre, so this is really deja vu for me. Like
all over again.
If Hillary had won, it was going to be really weird. It'd be like Clinton the second and Trudeau the second. That's fucked up, but not so much, unfortunately. But yes, we have. What did you call him, Mr. Gorgeous?
Gorgeous Miss Handsome Face.
Gorgeous Miss
Handsome face.
Mr. Gorgeous Pants. But I want to make Gorgeous Pants as well.
Did you know that when he was just the leader of the Liberal Party, he challenged another member of Parliament to a boxing match for charity?
Oh God, I like it even more now.
There's shirtless pictures of him from them, like all over the internet, where he's like, ugh, and he's all muscly, and he's tattooed and muscly, and
did he pose like Paul Ryan did?
Well, so
yes.
Supposedly Matthew Perry was a bully.
I just ruined it for you.
You did. Paul Ryan, like everybody, especially like Emma Law School, is like, okay, you can hate Paul Ryan all you want to, but he's hot. And I'm like, no, he fucking isn't. Like, if you're a dumbass, then you automatically stop being hot to me. I don't know. And
he's a Muppet-faced dink.
Yeah, exactly. And his face does not look natural to me. And I'm like, no, sir. And he like just looks like all the like frat boy fuck boys that I have to deal with over here. And I'm just like, it's gross. I'm like, you probably have herpes. Go get that checked.
Yeah, he seems like one of those guys for sure.
Yeah, whenever publicists told him it was a good idea to take those pictures with the hat on backwards and the doing the curls. Yeah, that person probably got fired or should have.
Here you go.
I don't know, maybe because they make him look like such a douchebag. Maybe that person deserves a promotion.
He looks like that singer that did that one-hit wonder a while back, Godier.
Oh yeah,
somebody I used to know. He looks like him in that picture.
And that song gets stuck in my head.
God, he really is handsome in Gorgeous Pants.
He's a good-looking dude.
And that tattoo he has on there is an Aboriginal tattoo.
Yeah, I was gonna say that looks something Native American.
Yep, or Canuck in this case, but yes. Yes, that's Hottie McGorgeous face right there. Prime Minister Hottie McGorgeous face.
Hey, he's not just a pretty face.
Yeah,
let's not reduce him down to that.
Actually, that's true.
He was a high school teacher before he became leader of the Liberal Party. So he was teaching for a number of years, and everybody kind of just assumed once he grew up that he would eventually follow in his father's footsteps. So it was just kind of assumed. But now
I don't envy you having a leader, a head of state who is gorgeous. I envy you having a leader who is a decent human being.
Or can competently tweet.
Yes.
And not scare people.
Who can competently get mail in the morning?
Yeah.
Who can competently do anything.
And who doesn't send invoices to Angela Merkel?
Well, the funny thing is, at least I find it amusing now, is I did not even vote for him at all.
Yeah.
Because he's a little too left for me. I'm more of a centrist, and the funny thing is, his party, the Liberal Party, is considered the centrist party. Like the other parties, there are several parties way more left than that. But he's a little too, like, for instance, he buys into the whole Islamophobia bullshit, and that irks me greatly.
Yeah.
I've really only heard him speak a few times. I'm very impressed with him when he speaks, though. So I don't know much about his policies.
he's got a lot of really good ideas, but something passed just last week. Now it was called a measure 101 maybe, I forget.
Yeah.
Stress.
That's the one that Gadsad keeps saying he's going to end up in prison for it, even though it's not a fucking law.
Well, it's not. So anybody who's now, I opposed it, but anybody who's like, oh my God, we're all gonna go in jail. Okay, this is a non-binding quote measure, which in itself I think is stupid that anybody would spend time on this in Parliament in the first place. But it's just a thing that says basically, oh, we're against quote Islamophobia, although what it is never actually defined anywhere. And we should research this and determine what further action should be taken about it. That's all it is. Okay. Now, again, I object to it because what's Islamophobia? It's such a nebulous term and nobody can really agree on what it is. And in case anybody didn't know, our guest last week, Ali Rizvi, in his book, he talks about how the term Islamophobia was actually invented by the Muslim Brotherhood as a political manipulation tool in Islam's favor.
Gotcha.
So a much better term would be anti-Muslim bigotry.
Yes, which is exactly what Ali said.
Right. Which I think we can all agree, or I mean, at least all of us here talking this evening can all agree that anti-Muslim bigotry is a bad thing and you should be against it. But yes. Islam is bullshit.
Terrible, awful, hideous. And I will say so for
well, they're trying to protect the ideology, and it's the ideology we object to. We don't object to the people.
Exactly.
Well, we don't.
And that's what they're trying to do. Well, yeah, we don't.
Some people do.
They're trying to. Yeah, they'll remain nameless here. Yeah, and that's the whole thing. It's just like any term you add the phobia suffix to, like, you know, like homophobia. How can you be irrationally afraid of gay people? I mean,
yeah, I don't.
Little scary looking at times, you know, especially when I get out of bed. But it's just a means of deflecting.
Yeah, I don't like homophobia as a term either. I think it's a bit nebulous as well.
I hate it.
But
I'm biased though on that one.
Yeah. So yeah, I wasn't too happy with that. Now, he did not bring that measure to Parliament. It was another member of Parliament who brought that measure in for a vote, and it was voted. And the stupid thing is like once it got publicity, it's one of those things where it's like, well, we kind of have to vote for it in, because if we don't, then we look like we're all bigots against Islam. It's like, or Muslims. It's like,
you look like a racist.
Yeah, I'm like, how the fuck would that work? Will we take more Syrian refugees than anybody else? Like, come on.
Yeah, our refugees are fleeing to your border now.
I know.
Fucking toad.
In the dead of winter.
I'm this close to being a refugee. Just heads up.
Okay, so important thing to know, and I don't think it's illegal for me to say this. So we have
I'm curious.
Yeah.
An agreement with the United States as far as refugees go, that whatever country the refugee lands in first is the country they must claim in. Unless, and this is the loophole, if you don't come to Canada legally, then you can claim refugee status no matter where you came from first. So that's why these people are trudging through the snow in the middle of the night, because they've learned if they come into Canada illegally, we will give them a chance to make a refugee claim. Otherwise, they must make their claim in the United States, and they can't do it here. So
yeah, if you make a claim in the U.S., I'll tell you right that.
There was an
immigration court sucks.
There was an interview about 2 weeks ago where They had talked to a couple refugees as to why they were fleeing to Canada, and they point blank said, "We're afraid to be in the United States."
Yeah, absolutely.
They're like,
Isn't that
our life
fucked
is
up?
just as much jeopardy here in the U.S. as it was over in this case it was Syria. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like, how fucking ridiculous is that? In
Well,
less than 6 weeks, we have gone to one of the, if not the laughing stock of the entire world.
Oh yeah. We
fleeing Yemen and fleeing Saudi Arabia are afraid to even come here.
We're seeing a lot of Somali refugees coming over because they're on the list. They're mainly Muslim refugees. Also, I was just reading an article today. So our illegal immigrants just since January are over 1,100. And that's half of all of the illegal refugees we got all last year. So in 3 months, we've had half of what we got in 12 months last year.
What was a shame about that is I just saw an article today is a family was vandalized, their home was, and at the end of the interview, basically the guy goes, "We're not even Muslim, but because they were of Middle Eastern descent or from that area or Pakistan, I don't remember where from."
If you're brown, you're Muslim, right?
Yeah, basically that's what it comes down to, because he was brown skinned. It was assumed he was, and that's Sikhs are again seeing an increase in violence against them, and Sikhs aren't even have nothing to do with Muslim or Islam.
Yeah, oh for sure, and
people get shot and killed in the United States.
Had what three
some
Sikh
Indian
men
guys
and one all Indian. I think 3 shot and one was actually killed since Trump took office. And there was the guy, the first one where he shot 2 and one of them died, and he said, "Get out of my country."
And there was a guy who got
fucking American of Indian descent who happened to be Sikh, and it was, "Get out of my country." So yeah, we have a fairly large Somali population. I mean, relatively speaking, Maine is, I think, in the top 3 probably most homogeneous states in the union. We're pretty fucking white.
Super white.
We're pretty goddamn white.
Super white is the
so, relatively speaking, having one Somali is a big deal because we're all white. But people don't associate. I don't think people don't necessarily associate Somali with Muslim so much as they associate, say, Indian with Muslim. Like say, "Oh well, you're a little too dark. You probably practice voodoo."
Yeah.
So I'll move on to that guy with the turban.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting what I was going to say was there was a story that actually, that's why I was laughing earlier because of the ridiculousness of it. In Florida, because Florida is literally the penis of America, it makes no sense and does whatever the fuck it wants. So Florida, there was this guy who went to there was a gas station and it was owned by Indian people, and then he said, "You're a bunch of," I'm sure he said, "Arabs," and he was like, "and a bunch of Muslims," because he got so mad that they did not have his favorite orange juice in stock that day, and he like set a freaking fire. And I was like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? And then there's and talking about the voodoo and how Maine is so white, like Mississippi actually has like a lot of people who are African American or black and things like that, but we're very segregated.
Yeah.
And so Mississippi actually is one of the states that sued the government, being like, "We don't want no refugees."
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck? Like, do y'all not realize, like, I'm also, like, a little bit part Middle Eastern, but they assume that all Middle Eastern people are brown?
Well, the one thing I will say for
Yeah.
growing up in a ridiculously white state is, you know, people say if you don't grow up around, you know, diversity, you know, that breeds racism. But I'm not sure that that's true, because every asshole and douchebag and loser I ever knew was white. So, like, I have no illusions that whites have the market cornered on integrity and being fine, upstanding citizens, because you know that's not my experience. So the notion that you have to grow up around a lot of people of various ethnicities in order to not be racist. The people that I know who are the most racist grew up in very diverse areas, and they say things to me like, well, you just have never seen it. You haven't, you grow up so sheltered, you've never seen how lazy such and such is, or, you know, that kind of thing.
I think those
interactions are false. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I think those arguments come more from the idea that when you grow up in a very, you know, white or homogenous type of neighborhood or culture or block or city, whatever it is, your level or chance of being indoctrinated with poor thinking about someone else is a lot higher. So, like, you know, like if you were told from a young age that, you know, black people are terrible, or, like, you know, the Russians are bad, you know, you're going to grow up with that kind of idea. And if you don't interact with them, you have nothing to counter that. Whereas, you know, if you grow up in, like, Mississippi, where you might interact with black people, but they're probably the poorer section of town, you've been told that they're poor and they're lazy and they're dumb, and that's all that you see of them, it might breed a worse type of racism. But I don't think it necessarily breeds a more tolerant person.
Yeah, and down here it's like, oh, well, my friend is black, so it's okay that I have these racist views because I know how it is, unlike those liberal elites in their ivory towers in Maine, as they would probably say down here.
Right. Well, hello, you know, that's sort of the thing about, that's why people like David Clark or Ben Carson, you know, like if you're a black person, or if you're a person if you're a non-white person who is willing to confirm all of white America's stereotypes and fears about your group, then you will, I think it was Alonzo Bowden said, you will never have to work another day in your life.
Yeah.
There is a market for that. So that's why, you know, folks like that, they've got it made, because people say, well, hey, look, David Clark, he's a black guy and he hates black people. So I can totally hate black people, and I can't be racist.
And I'm not racist.
Look at David Clark, he hates. And look at Ben Carson. He says slaves were just immigrants. You know, so what's the big fucking deal?
Unwilling immigrants, I think, is what he said.
Oh, and
like
the wall thing.
I hope. I wish now, if I ever have to have brain surgery, like, I need to know these things about my brain surgeon. Like, because no fucking way are you touching my brain if you hate slaves. We're just immigrants.
I just saw something the other day where somebody made a comment that a whole lot of Ben Carson's former patients are going like this to their head, going, what the
I think he's an idiot savant. Like one of those people that's really good at like this one thing, which is brain surgery, and not to downplay the skill of neurosurgeons, but it very much is very mechanical. It's like, you open this, you do this, and you do that, and there, it's fixed. And there is a lot of, you know, science and things that go into that, and a lot of education that goes into that. But I think to a degree that people are able to compartmentalize that and not necessarily be critical thinkers. And I think that's one of Ben Carson's problem, is he's just never critically thought about it instead of compartmentalizing his Christianity. And also there is a lot of money in telling white people this bullshit racism that they want to hear. And he's like, oh, I'm getting affirmation, so I must be right. And he's not the only one, because there's David Clark doing it. So I'm not the only black person saying these kinds of horrible things. And then, he's just,
I'm going to go
he's
take a nap.
Savant. Yeah, when he opens his mouth about anything else, like the fucking pyramids and Joseph
Strange stories,
And I
yeah.
remember my history degree, I was looking at it and it caught on fire when he said that. It just was like, I'm done. There is no such thing as facts or history anymore. The world is over, Morgan. And I was like, well, you didn't earn me any money anyway.
I was gonna say, in regards to this whole stupid wall thing, right? So at the end of last year, Trudeau, there used to be a requirement that Mexicans coming to Canada had to have a visa. Trudeau took that requirement away at the end of last year,
Now they
and
only need a MasterCard.
yeah,
You
basically.
dumbass.
But
Boo.
And according to this article from today, since then we've had 1,000% increase in Mexican refugees in Canada. So they're just jumping your whole fucking country and coming straight here, and they'll come and visit, but they're not probably gonna want to clean the toilets anymore.
I was gonna say, and still, I mean, 1,000% increase. I mean, that really depends what it was to start with. Like
Well, exactly. And I should say
what that actually means.
Whoever wrote this article, some guy named Graham Gordon from CBC News, he's actually kind of being bitchy about our immigration, and he's like, Trudeau should stop telling people that they should all come to Canada, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, we've got shit tons of land, people.
And immigration is amazing for everything. It's amazing for everything except for bigots. So they make a shit ton of noise about it. Meanwhile, if you look back, anytime there's immigration, healthy immigration to a country, they're doing awesome in the next couple decades. Like, it's just
it adds culture and diversity and like good, awesome new foods I get to try, and
but it's also awesome for the economy. Like, it's good for everything, and
we are financially better off than America, and we have been. I mean, you guys have a stronger dollar, but overall,
you're just called a weenie, so
not for long.
I think we should swap people, but we do better. Like when the big recession hit back in like 07, 08, we actually had a surplus, a federal surplus at that time, which was
after had a surplus of empty homes. So
yes,
not for good reasons.
No, I've been to some American cities where I'm just like, why are their whole neighborhoods boarded up? You don't ever see that here. You just don't. But I mean, our slums, I hate to say this, but our slums kind of look like your middle road.
Damn, all right. They're shade. I'm sure if y'all came to Mississippi, you'd be like, what kind of horrible third world country did I come to? And some parts are like nice, but then other parts you're like, what the hell? This is like some South American like hellhole.
I've spent time in rural Georgia, so I have a little bit of an idea.
Oh, okay. Got a slight idea, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's something to the assertion that taking in lots and lots of refugees or immigrants from, say, Syria is not the same as taking in lots and lots of refugees from, say, Germany.
Sure.
So it's not. And I don't mean that in any kind of anti-immigrant sense. I don't mean we shouldn't take immigrants or refugees from those countries. I'm just saying when we talk about, look at all these amazing, advances technologically and scientifically and socially that came because these people were immigrants or from the children of immigrants, and that's all absolutely 100% true, and I totally support it. But to say that it's exactly the same to take millions of refugees from a Islamic majority country
or a war country in general,
or a theocracy, I should say, to take millions of refugees from a theocracy as opposed to millions of refugees from a democracy is really not the same thing. And so we shouldn't pretend that it is the same thing. Yeah. You know, it's like what we talked about last week with Ali is that, the risk isn't zero. It's vanishing is small, but the risk isn't zero. So we shouldn't pretend that the risk is zero. But the risk is probably not terrorism. The risk is, in a generation, is our society overall going to be less democratic? Is it going to be less open? Are there going to be more women in hijabs? Is there going to be more, sort of the resolution in Parliament you were talking about, Deb? Is there going to be more of that? Or is there going to be a move towards, blasphemy statutes and that kind of thing?
Well,
and those are the kinds of things we have to be careful about. But, from my perspective, integration is less about the communities coming in than it is about the expectations of the host country. It's about, do you expect everybody to be held to the same standard? You either do or you don't. And if you do, then that helps with integration. If you say, no, you can go ahead and have your own separate enclaves and your own legal system, and there have been problems in Europe, and we shouldn't deny that those problems are. And of course, we don't want to repeat those problems here, but we also don't want to inflate them and overstate them. So, I just think the left has to be really careful about being honest about what the risks really are and aren't.
So I would make two points to that. One is just generally speaking, so you as a Mainer, is that what you would be called from your state?
I am a Mainist. Maniac.
A maniac.
Yeah.
So would you consider immigrating to Afghanistan?
Oh, hell no.
Okay. I can ask it to Morgan, Beth, Deb, would you consider going there? Probably not, right? Right. Okay. If you were, for some reason, an Afghanistan-born, radicalized American youth, would you then consider going to Afghanistan?
Probably,
yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, generally speaking, what I think happens with immigration and people who would want to come to America, it's not necessarily are there going to be those terrorist types that might want to try to sneak in? For sure. But I think the kids and the people and the moms with kids and the dads and whatever else who are trying to get out of those countries they're not leaving Afghanistan, Somalia, Indonesia, wherever they're coming from, going, I'm going to go to San Francisco and set up shop and make my own little, Sharia law type place. It's like, you know what? It kind of sucks here. I don't like living under this crazy oppression. I still like Allah, but maybe I want to go and live where it's a bit more free.
Well, and that's the other thing is because I've got into arguments with right wingers because I'm pro refugee and they seem to think that because I'm pro-refugee, that means I want to let in anybody and everybody without ever checking them. And I don't know why they would think that, because I don't. But one thing that I got told all the time, well, look at Germany, look at Europe, and they're raping women everywhere and they commit all these crimes.
No.
But I often say, I do acknowledge that there are some issues for sure. And the main reason for that is there hasn't been a good vetting process. In fact, now I don't know this for sure, but I've read that Merkel just kind of went, oh, everybody that we can take, come on over, we love you kind of thing. But there wasn't as strenuous a vetting as maybe there could have been. I'm not 100% sure on that, but that's what I read. Now here, we have a very strenuous vetting program. And one thing that's key that I think keeps us from having issues that people like to harp about is we do not take single men, like young single men. We don't take them. We want families, you know, married couples that either have children or are expecting kids or want kids, or, you know, that sort of dynamic, because the young single guy, and we're not talking like if you have, you know, a kid over 18 in your family, we're gonna make you leave him at home. I'm talking, you know, one guy who's like, you know, 25 and says, I'm a refugee, I want to come to Canada. We're not likely going to let that guy in, because those are the kinds that are more likely to either be a lone wolf or be part of a terrorist cell, or that sort of thing. Now, if somebody was an atheist and said, yeah, I'm 25, I'm an atheist, and I'm going to lose my head, I imagine we would give that another look for sure. But you know, that's just the way that Trudeau's decided to do this. And we've had absolutely zero issues. The terrorist attacks that we've had in the last couple of years have all been from native-born Canadians, most of which were actually raised Christian.
Yeah.
So same here for the U.S.
Yeah, that was going to be my second point. Is for the most part the people that usually raise the biggest problems, and the people that will usually start or attempt to start like these Sharia type communities in Europe a lot of times tend to be second generation people, and you know, and they might garner support from, you know, refugees who are coming in, or the immigrant community that's kind of around them. But for the most part, that radicalized kind of crazy person generally tends to be a second generation person who's lived under, you know, let's say a white oppressive government who has a really shitty negative view of their religion. And they get fed all that negativity and that racism and that bigotry. And all of a sudden it's like, you know what? Fuck you guys.
Yeah. Fuck y'all. Why do
like if you look at the UK, where they have let refugee communities set up, for example, set up their own Sharia courts. Well, you know what, we want to resolve our own family law issues on our own. We're going to, and the government says, you know what, that's your culture, go ahead and do that. That, to me, that's a huge mistake. Partly because women and children lose out the biggest in those situations.
For sure.
And then the second biggest thing to me is that they let them set up their own schools.
Yeah.
And again, that goes to, and that's not a problem that's specific to immigrant communities, that religious schools are not properly regulated anyway. You go to religious school and you're gonna, you know, you're just as likely to get a shit education as you are to get a decent education, because they're not regulated, and you spend your whole day learning scripture as opposed to learning science and learning history and learning, you know, current events and all of that stuff. So I think that's those are definitely, I would say, in terms of settling quote unquote family matters, and in terms of education, no. You know what? You're an immigrant. We're happy to have you. You send your children to public school. You don't send them to your private religious school where you're going to perpetuate the same sorts of ideologies.
Illustrate the difference too. Back in 2003 in my province, Ontario, we used to have a provincial law that was geared towards Aboriginal communities that gave them some rights of self-government. And it was mainly in things like family law and such. Well, in 2003, a group of Muslims decided that that law meant that they should be able to have Sharia law. And they pushed the government to allow them the same conditions under that law. And kudos to our premier at the time, which would be like your governor. He said, fuck that shit. And he actually had the law repealed.
The entire law.
The entire law repealed. Like,
yeah,
I felt bad for the Aboriginal community because I think they do deserve a little bit of leeway that way, but not if there's other religious groups that are going to jump in and be like, oh, well, we want Sharia and oh, we want biblical Christian law. Well, fuck that shit. Like,
well, and the Aboriginal stuff, you got to be careful there too, because you end up with a situation where you have children of Aboriginal or First Nations, I guess is what you call it in Canada. They had that very high profile case of a little girl who died of cancer.
Yes.
Because they said, the government said, yeah, you know what, you can go ahead and pray over her, basically, rather than providing her medicine, and we won't prosecute you for that. We'll make an exception for not providing her with acceptable medical care because it's part of what is more or less your religion.
Well, and the stupid part,
and in which case culture substitutes for religion, but it's basically the same thing. So that child is dead because they said we'll place culture / religion over what's in the best interest of the actual survival of this child. So I think that's a real thin line there.
Well, the worst part with that case, too, was they took the laws that were meant to give Aboriginal people a little more leeway. And yes, they were an Aboriginal family, but they were a Christian family. Yes. And they took their Aboriginal rights and twisted them into something to allow them to use their religious bullshit on the child.
Yeah. They pled Aboriginal wanting to use their traditional healing methods and took her to a quack homeopathic clinic down in Florida run by Brian Clement. They basically lied to the government to get what they wanted. It had nothing to do with Aboriginal rights, but they used the Aboriginal rights to get what they want. Regretfully, Michaela died because of it. In fact, second and third child are also involved. One goes by the initials JJ, and then a third one isn't named. They pulled the same fucking shit, and I believe JJ had a relapse, and I think they did go back to traditional measures. And the third child, I believe, is still being faith healed, for lack of a better word. But yeah, Michaela's incident is just slide.
Yeah. What was that, Morgan?
Well, yeah, going back to a point.
Oh, just a sec. Morgan, you had something?
Yeah, I was just going to say about, like, the Muslim enclaves or whatever it is, like, that's completely false. Like, I was over there in Europe during the summer, and I know whatever anecdotal evidence, whatever that bullshit is, but I also just snopes it, and yeah, it's completely bullshit, because over in France and in England, there are areas of more concentrated Muslims, but it's only like a few people that are asking for these crazy like Sharia laws, and the government basically just ignores them. Like, there's no such fucking thing as they're allowed to set up their own courts. Like, France and England both have been like, fuck you.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I said as well. Yep.
There was somebody in the crazy group just yesterday posted a video and captioned it. It was looked like a city council type setting, and a bunch of people were yelling and screaming about the Quran being terrible. And they captioned it, "Canadians lose their minds over Quran taught in schools." And I'm like, no. Fuck no. That is lie. That is false. That never happened. Stop with your fake news bullshit. And these people started, posting stuff like, oh, well, Trudeau's soft on Islam. I'm like, yeah, I know he is soft on Islam. That doesn't mean there's Qurans in the fucking schools. I have nieces that go to public school. I have cousins who are teachers in public schools. I have nieces that go to separate school. No, there are no fucking Qurans in the goddamn schools. And these people are like, oh, well, here's a meme with Trudeau saying that. That's doesn't mean anything. Like, it drives me crazy when people do that.
It's like our discussion with Twat Waffle we had a couple weeks ago, where she was posting, going back to the whole immigration issue, basically what's occurring in Europe with immigration, whether it be refugee or not, is geography. A similar issue with immigration and refugee as we do here in the States with those coming from Central and South America. They come up through Mexico, through Texas, Arizona, New Mexico. We can't control them because our border's just too big, and that's the problem they're having in mainland Europe and to some degree the UK. But,
So,
like you said, with the vetting process, that's not the whole issue, but that's part of it. Then you have policies such as Merkel's, who basically has had kind of a laissez-faire handoff policy, where I think her, for lack of a better word, likes to think the best of people. And like you said, Tim, with, asking us whether we want to emigrate to the Middle East. Well, hell no, but the right things are going, I might look at it. But yeah, I mean, one Waffle had made was about violence or it was to Trump's thing about Sweden, when he said, well, look at what happened in Sweden. And I think it was Swat Waffle posted a thing about Malmo, Sweden. So one of the guys took Breitbart up on their offer to pay all expense paid trip, and he went to Malmo, and he's like, had one of the political people, I don't remember his title offhand, and they did a tour of Malmo. And he's like, okay, there's nothing going on here. And it's like you said, Morgan, that's not the reality of what's going on. Yes, there are trouble spots. Yes, there are individuals in trouble, but in the most part, the people that are fleeing war-torn countries are fleeing for their life. In the case of those that are atheists are not being let into this country because they only want the Christians. I mean, so you have worldwide policy affecting these people, and no one country has the same policy as a number as a whole. So it makes it really difficult, and these people are just getting bounced around. Meanwhile, they're dodging bullets, bombs.
I think Matthew wanted to say something.
Yeah.
So
Matthew, say something, Matthew.
And we should talk about like your show and stuff too.
Sure.
Oh wait.
But if you have a show, immigration, go ahead.
I think this is just kind of my thought on it. When you look at immigration, I know first generation are like way better than pretty much anybody else, no matter what metric you're looking at, as far as like crime and shit like that. Okay, they commit less crimes. They want to be here. Jesus, they work hard. Second generation is up to us, the rest of us, the culture that they're in, to make sure that they feel welcome, that they have a stable, safe environment, and they're not getting shit on all the time, to make sure that they don't radicalize themselves. So in a place, like God, I'm sorry, Morgan, Mississippi, maybe we'll say, I don't know, maybe where they're not super welcome, you're going to breed a different kind of second generation immigrant than you would
for sure.
Somewhere where they're much more welcome and they have opportunity. And it's just like, it's this self-fulfilling prophecy where we don't want to fucking let them in. We're dickheads once they're here. We don't give them opportunities. We make it so fucking hard for them to live, and we make them the bad guy the whole time. What the fuck? What do you expect? Of course we're gonna breed.
Yeah, it's like, you're gonna treat me like the bad guy, then I'll be the bad guy. Fuck you.
I mean, to me, the trade-off of the small, and of course, I have to understand that I'm a possible victim of some of this stuff, whatever. But the trade-off to me for the small, infinitesimal chance of violence is not nearly worth losing a family. I think I side much more with the German side of things than I would with, say, a sort of Trumpian take on it. But that's me. I'm a bleeding heart liberal, and we do have a podcast.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, I'm slightly left of Bernie Sanders, so I'm very popular down here.
You would love the NDP then, Miss Morgan. That's our leftist party, is the new Democratic Party, but it's
I know. And over here, we're still scared of socialism.
Oh God, we actually have two flavors of Communist Party in Canada. We have the Marxist Leninists and the Communist Party of Canada. So the Communist Party of Canada are the Stalinists, and then the others are obviously Marxist Leninists. So yeah.
Can you adopt me? Like, I know I'm a grown-up, but like, just adopt me and save me from this horrible place.
Under Canadian law, I actually could, because yeah.
You kind of look like you cousins, so that might work out.
There we go.
Yeah, I could dye my hair red again.
Sure. But yes, the gentlemen actually do have a show and stuff. So what I do actually like to know a little bit about guests, and you guys can decide who wants to go first, but a couple questions I usually ask is, were you raised religious, and if so, what flavor, and how did you find your way out of that crap if you were?
Matt, am I going first this time?
Yeah, I pointed at you.
All right. Yeah. I was raised Lutheran in northeast Pennsylvania, and I was raised the Missouri Synod, which is the more Bible thumping, God fearing of the synods of Lutheranism.
Sounds like Beth is quite familiar with
Catholic wannabe.
You cut off, Beth, but I know exactly what you said. Catholic light, right?
Yep, Catholic wannabe.
Yeah,
Catholic wannabe, Catholic light. Yep, that's us.
Yeah, I mean, at least my preacher growing up was pretty anti-Catholic. So, I'm not sure if maybe it was different in the middle of Pennsylvania versus the eastern side of Pennsylvania. But yeah, I mean,
kind of like that Star Trek episode where the people are half black and half white, but they hate each other because they're opposite sides. Like someone walking into a Lutheran church like that would see a lot more similarities than they would to Catholicism than the Lutheran would. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I'm just going off of what our preacher told us, and what I thought of my friends growing up, going, "You guys are dumb," because they were mostly Catholic. But I mean, I've said this on our podcast a bunch, but like, I don't think I ever really truly believed any of it. My grandmother, my grandfather, who's now passed, were fiercely religious, not to the point of like being scary about it, but just like, my grandma, she's 98 years old, still wakes up every day at like 4 a.m. to read the Bible kind of deal. My mom, who passed away, who'll come back later in this quick little story that I'm going to tell. I don't think she ever really truly believed. We kind of went whenever it was kind of convenient for us to go to church on Sundays. If I had a baseball game or something like that, we would skip. It was never really a big deal. And I mean, it was never a huge part of our lives. I mean, it was more just, like normal family bullshit kind of stuff. Like, you just do it because grandma wants you to go, and it's good to get a nice bacon sandwich on Sunday mornings.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And
quickly, there you go, Matt.
Yep.
That's great.
I love it.
That's great. So it eventually, I mean, I guess how I kind of stepped out of it was my mom got sick when I was 22, 23.
Mm-hmm.
I was just out of college, and she got pretty sick, got leukemia, died relatively quickly. And I mean, I'd been kind of stepping away from it before then, but I mean, I guess there was an instance before that, which I talk about in our show as well, where my grandfather was dying when I was, I guess, a senior or junior in high school, and our pastor from the Missouri Synod wouldn't give him last rites because he had dementia, and broke my grandmother's heart. My 98-year-old grandmother, she was like, 88 at the time or something like that.
Why did dementia have anything to do with it?
Because he couldn't recognize what he was doing.
Well, yeah.
Oh, so he just gets fucked off to hell because he has dementia?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, yeah.
That's a new one. That's a new one to me.
Yeah, it's kind of shitty. And then my mom kind of passing away relatively quickly kind of really broke it for me. And we were at her funeral, and we had a new pastor at the church that my grandmother goes to that I went to, since I was a child. And at her funeral, he told the story of Job as the homily.
What the fuck? I would have punched him in his throat. Oh my God.
And I mean, like we got up and we're walking out, and like I was flabbergasted. My sister was like what the hell just happened? We walked out, and my grandmother went to the pastor, like, oh, it was so beautiful, it was great, just thank you so much. And I'm just like,
wow,
what the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeesh. Oh, I think he froze.
Yeah, Tim's all froze up.
He'll come back in a minute. I'm trying.
What the fuck?
Yeah. It's
Jesus.
It's fucking nuts.
Yeah. It's frustrating. It's like they don't know anything about these people. Nothing. So they come in and it's their opportunity to say some generic ass nice words about someone and proselytize. And when it's taken advantage of, it's shitty.
Yeah.
What preacher school do you go to that Job is appropriate for anybody's funeral?
I have no idea. I mean, like the Missouri Senate, like
That's
your last
amazing.
year before you get out. He was a young guy. Like he's probably like 30, 32 or something like that. He was young. Like he was literally brand new to the congregation. Had never met my mom. My mom had been sick for like a year and change or so, and she hadn't been to church in probably 2 or 3 years. So he had never met her. And just decided to come up with Job. And I was like, oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, for today's, I'm going to talk about the bear killing the
the she bear.
It's like, what?
That's what he says for, a child's funeral, right?
Yeah, don't make fun of bald guys.
Yes, that is advice you should take to heart. Do not make fun of bald guys.
Oh yeah, that's because Matt's bald under that hat. Today we're going to talk about the demon pigs.
Damn, called him out.
Oh no, it's my favorite thing to make fun of.
Yeah, big old moon head.
Because Tim's got the nice styling hair. He's all coiffed.
Tim got all the looks. I got half of the brains. Fuck.
I like bald.
Buddy, you're adorable.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, you know what? Jean-Luc Picard was bald, so there you go.
Yes, I am also Jean-Luc Picard. So thanks for pointing that out. So
I could have said Kojak, but
I don't know who that one is. Damn it! You guys are saying.
Oh my God! You people are so young.
Hey Matt, you accidentally made them feel old. You accidentally made them feel old, and I was like, you started saying like I was checking. No, don't say that, Matt.
Oh wait, off air we were talking about cuck and doxing and.
Yeah, I'm apparently the young one. So
yeah, I'm like that weird middle area.
Yeah.
No, I actually watched Kojak when it was still on TV.
I remember when Kojak was still on TV. Yeah.
I know what Kojak is. I could not tell you anything about it.
It sounds like a cleaning product. So
Kelly
I'm gonna go.
That's
who
it was. Kelly Savalas.
Well, actually,
yeah, okay.
Kojak kind of looks like Mr. Clean, so that sort of works.
I always found Mr. Clean to be so creepy. Like you're cleaning your house and there's this bald guy like smiling behind you. Like, get the fuck out of my house.
Have you seen the commercial where the woman is like having fantasies like she's cleaning her house?
Yes, that was so weird.
She's like trying to fuck Mr. Clean.
What?
Yeah, that was from the Super Bowl or some shit. I was like, what the hell is happening right now?
Yeah,
like, I'm not wanting to kink shame anybody, but don't put your kink in your Super Bowl ad. All right, we're good.
Yeah, that was
weird. Yeah, the woman is like trying to nail Mr. Clean before her husband gets home.
I'm glad I don't have.
Her husband's a cuck.
See, right? The total cuck.
That's awesome.
What is I know what a cuckold is, but what's with this cuck thing that I keep seeing? I know.
We had a whole big conversation when you were done.
Yeah, it's like cuck-servative. So it's like politically, what it means is sort of a Republican who's moderate or who doesn't follow with Trump's bullshit, because they consider, or any establishment person also can be considered a cuck.
Because or if you're not like a manly man with balls the size of, you know, like beach balls.
Yeah, if you're a feminist man, you're a
with
cuck,
wiry
or
hair
a
and
male.
all that shit. Yeah, you're a total cuck.
This confuses me because I've been called that recently.
Oh, in the crazy group?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yes.
in crazy
Trump supporters, yes, they will call they alt-right people or Nazis.
But I'm
They're
like,
Nazis.
I don't understand. But anyway,
I didn't know women could be cucks.
Apparently,
Come on, get with the times. Men and women can do the same things, Tracy.
That's true. That's
Oh,
true.
God,
Here I
don't
am.
do
Well,
that.
my traditional gender roles where women can't be cucks. You know,
I know, this is not the turn for
hey,
gender
you know,
equality I
let's try.
necessarily wanted.
Women can be cucks. They can fuck Mr. Clean. You know, everything goes.
Hey, if he consents, sure, go for it. I don't care.
If the cartoon man who's living in your dreams consents to you having sex with him, it's fine.
I mean,
God,
if you're
it's
down
so
with two-dimensional D, go for it. I don't know, though. I'm not sure how well.
Two-dimensional D. I think I'm going to change my Twitter handle to that now. I don't know why, but it seems like a catchy Twitter handle, two-dimensional D.
I have a friend.
I don't know. Two-dimensional D doesn't sound like it would be all that great, but
No.
hey, you know,
It
who am I
doesn't,
to
but-
judge?
My law professors that follow me on Twitter, which I don't know why they do it, because I'm just like, you're seeing me be salty literally 24/7, and just spare your eyes, look away. But they think it's funny. So,
Nice.
yeah, if I change it to two-dimensional D, they would just be like, what the fuck is going on with this girl? Let's give her an A. So it might work.
I have
Nice.
a
Good luck.
friend who, her name's Donna, and in our PM chat, we were fucking around with the stuff you can change on your phone, and she changed her quote nickname to the D. Except, and I was like, oh, two-dimensional. Oh, wait a minute. No, she's very much a lesbian. That would not work. Anyway, Tim, did you have any more to your story to add?
No.
Or, yes.
No. I'll let Matt tell his story, and then he can tell how the podcast started. If you guys actually give
All
a
right.
shite about
I don't, but
We do.
Yeah, good for you, Tracy. Good for you. I don't either.
I'm kidding. I'm not. I am an asshole, but I'm not that much of an asshole.
Okay, so yeah,
it. You would do well on our show.
Yeah.
I'm a total asshole. Just just cards on the table.
Nice. I was raised for like most of my childhood without any sort of religion. I had some dark ass shit. If you want to hear about it, go listen to episode 2 of our show. Happened when I was a kid, and I was looking for something, and someone introduced me to church, and I went, and I was like, fuck yes, this is what I need, you know. And it just didn't fucking work. They overpromised and underdelivered, which is the opposite of what you want to do. So it felt hollow, and I tried really, really, really hard to make it work, and it didn't, you know. So sooner or later I started going, oh, maybe this isn't for me, you know. And then I started doing some reading, and then went from kind of ambivalent about it to antagonistic and angry. And then Tim and I started the podcast, and now I'm back to just academic and ambivalent about my own personal interaction with religion, although it still angers me, you know, the things that it does to people. But you know, I'm not personally angry about it like I was, you know, 4 or 5 years ago.
I think something that Matt glossed over there, which I think is important to his story, is
I'm still a Christian.
Yes, he's still a Christian. Matt's family growing up was very much a hippy dippy, kind of nonsensical kind of family, I guess you could call them.
Yeah, my dad uses crystals for deodorant.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he also lived in the shack in the woods for like a year until they kicked him out.
And I wasn't allowed to go to the doctor when I was a kid for a lot of things.
Yeah, and they ear candled him and all sorts of crazy stuff. But when Matt
half deaf in one ear because of candling. Yeah.
So they love David Avocado Wolf.
They're not very he anymore doesn't know how to use a computer, so he'd would think that's something he would buy at the grocery store, probably.
Yeah, probably because of Wi-Fi. But when Matt eventually got into religion, his family was not against it. I don't think, but they were like ambivalent towards it.
Yeah.
But he eventually got his family into religion.
And they went nuts with it. So when Matt started to get out of it, they were then kind of into it and kind of guilting him with it. So I think a lot of his antagonism towards it, A, came from the fact that they under-delivered on what they had sold him. And B, because as well, you know, his family was now like slightly turning him like against him and stuff. And Matt's mom, who I've always said is my second mom, because she's just the greatest person ever. Like I remember being in college and like her just being just super nice about being really crazy about certain things. you know, like hey, like Harry Potter's from the devil, and it's like no, Mrs. Van Dyke, that's not true. Yep. I was told not to take medicine. I was supposed to eat garlic. You know, like that's the kind of shit that I came up with. So, you know, I have fertile ground in my past for, you know, all these insane stories that, you know, if I hadn't lived that and honestly lived through that, I wouldn't know nearly as much to talk about on the show. So, you know, I have this incredible resource with all this crazy in my past to just, I mean, we can do this show for years if all we talked about was the shit that my parents put me through, you know, the crazy woo bullshit, you know, like we used to drink colloidal silver and hold on to these things connected to a battery that, it did, I mean, it's just nuts. Like, I don't even know what that one was supposed to do. I have no idea what that one was supposed to do.
That sounds like a mix between woo and Scientology woo.
Right, exactly. It's the apparatus. What's that?
I said you should be a Smurf.
I should be, but we didn't do that one very long.
You mean they actually had an e-meter, or it was something like
no, it was just supposed to like electrify his blood or some bullshit or something like that.
Well, now if it's any consolation, now you'll hear us talking. I belong to a couple of Facebook groups, and Beth's in one of them, and Morgan's in both of them, and we call them the crazy group and the really crazy group. And in the crazy group, there are people that believe shit in there that I've never heard of, and one of them, which made me think of this, your parents kind of in a way. He called
it was mostly my dad. I should say that. I shouldn't. My mom went along with it, but she, as soon as they were split, that shit stopped. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Well, this guy I came across, he would go on and on in the group about how God is water, and he called himself a hydro prophet.
Okay.
And that was weird enough. He went by the name of or what was it? Start with an O.
It was some weird alien name.
Onomi Dorator. And Dorator was the planet he was from, because he was really a lizard person.
Yes,
this
is the guy I quoted Dune to as the Bible.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought I'd have fun with one day. I started from the book Dune by Frank Herbert, because that's like my all-time favorite book. And he was like, not basically, you can see him going, yeah. It's like
that's a fantasy novel.
Fucking looked into you.
As somebody who grew up without any of it, Dune is no stranger than the Bible.
Yeah.
Dune
there's
is less
like
strange
to me,
than the Bible.
there's no difference. Like, you know, like the folks who had the Heaven's Gate.
Mm-hmm.
Who some of you are apparently too young to remember what that is.
No, we know what the Heaven's Gate is. Morgan might not.
But you know, the Heaven's Gate, and people laugh and say, "Oh my God, that's so ridiculous." Why is Like, what is weirder about that than I conceived myself so that I could sacrifice myself to save you from myself? Like, what? There's not a single thing weirder about the Heaven's Gate people than there is about Christianity.
You really forgot the most
It happened to me a few weeks ago. Where
rape your mom to conceive yourself.
Right, yeah.
That is paramount to that craziness of that story. Sorry.
Well, that's what makes Dune such a good novel to read, because basically Frank Herbert, in writing the series, had to create the whole notion of religion as a backdrop, with the Fremen, and then with Maudit.
The Degenerates, or whatever they're called,
The Degenerates, and you want to take that one step further, then you have somebody like L. Ron Hubbard, who has point blank said, if you want to make money, start a fucking religion. Well, what did he do? He started a fucking religion. And like you said, with Heaven's Gates, I mean, it doesn't take much.
Yeah, speaking of all that and L. Ron Hubbard, it's a perfect segue into this. So I'm sitting there and I watched Going Clear, the HBO documentary about Scientology, and my boyfriend, who is still a Christian, walks in and he says, how do people believe that shit? That shit's weird. And I just sat there and stared at him for about 30 seconds and smiled. And I said, and what you believe is no weirder? And then he just I'll leave you alone, and went off into my room to go out. He'll try to step up, and I'm like, okay, you won't step up, and he's learned, don't do that.
So what got you guys into atheist podcasting?
Matt's wedding. It was fucking horrible.
Yep, it was the worst day of everybody's life.
No,
even people that weren't there, they're like, "Oh God, I hate that day, and I have no idea why." And I tell them it was that day, and they understand it. No, Tim and
can I tell it? Because you tell it every time, and it gets worse every time.
You said I could tell it.
I'm kidding.
I will let you tell it as long as you don't mind me interrupting you.
Okay. No. So, Mac.
No, he's wrong already. He's wrong. He's fucked it up already.
Mac was getting married down in North Carolina, and he asked me to be the best man. So I went down and I prepared a speech, and I never got to deliver the speech because Matt's the worst, and that's all I really wanted to say.
Okay. So Tim and I just obsessively research stuff. I know I'll speak for myself. I can't help it. Tracy, you were talking earlier, and I was furiously typing in what you were saying to make sure that, because I hadn't heard it, I wanted to get as much as I could in me while you were talking. It's something I can't help but do. So Tim came down for the wedding. We sat out on the deck and griped at each other about philosophy and shit like that for 4 hours, and he left fucking finally. And then I was like, hey man, let's put this to good use. Let's try this. Let's sit down and record us talking and see if we can turn this into a podcast. So we did 6 episodes, which anybody who starts a podcast, I highly recommend that. Do a string of them first, edit them, see how much work it is, see if it's something you can handle before you go live with it. Just a little bit of a pro tip there, because podcasting is a shit ton of work, especially if you edit.
That's why we do live.
Yeah, I know. So we basically what we do is we pick a new topic every single week. We research the ever-loving fuck out of it and try and tell you as much as we possibly can about it, given our format. Lots of off-color jokes, and most of my jokes actually don't land, so get ready for that. But yeah, we try to be.
You tell jokes?
Yeah, I know. I know. We try to be quasi-funny.
Sorry.
And
try.
Informative. No, you're right. You're right. Tim often says to me, I don't laugh at your jokes because they're bad. So
yeah,
my best friend can say it to me, and I don't cry about it. Pretty much anybody can.
Tracy, I'm the dick of our show.
So we'll totally get along then.
So that means I got off easy.
The dick of our show.
When I did your show, I got off easy because you weren't there, Tim. Is that
Yes. No, I'm really nice to guests. I usually make fun of Matt during those. I'm just really mean to Matt, actually.
You would have had fun though, because my husband was snoring on the sofa the entire time.
He was good.
Yeah, he had to like adjust the gates to sort of get rid of him.
Yeah, and the only thing I would add to that is what's kind of funny is Matt and I have been friends for I don't know, what is it, 16 or 17 years now?
One or the other. We argue about that too.
Yeah, I have no idea. But we spent the longest time I mean, Matt was a little further in his deconversion than I was. But we spent the longest time living together in a dorm room, living together in a house in college, communicating pretty regularly once we left college without really ever talking about our views on God or anything like that. It was more just, drinking and hanging out. And it basically took his wedding to I think we drove to Walmart or something weird like that. And
Walmart's weird.
I think we brought up no, because somehow Richard Carrier got brought up and we started talking about him, and then it was oh wait, you know who that is? And they're like, oh, so we started talking about that, and we kind of going back and forth, and it ended up at the end of his wedding, getting in this huge long discussion about something that eventually led us to be like, hey, maybe we should actually do a podcast about this thing that we both apparently agree on, even though we've never talked about it and been friends for 10 years.
And agree is a
oh yeah,
sort
we
of
argue
odd
a lot.
To use
yeah, we argue a lot and disagree a lot.
Yeah, it's part of the fun, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. A little strife never hurt the podcast, eh?
Yeah, we can't do it for
Well,
a month
think
like we did
things...
with the Mythicism one. But
yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Beth.
Sorry.
I was going to say, one of the things, and I mentioned this before the show too, is that one of the things I liked about your podcast is that it was a cross between cognitive dissonance, but not as brisk as Cecil and them can be, and also waiting for wrath. And we've had those guys on before too, so
yeah.
Like I said, it's more voices, and the fact that you guys have been friends for so long, and Deb and I just met, about 6 months before we started the podcast, and it just happened to click.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't work that way. I mean, we all bring something different to the table, and what I like is the fact that your topics that you do choose, you've had Milwaukee Mythicists on a couple times, and you've done Mythicism on your own, and anybody that knows me knows that both Deb and I both have an interest in it, but you also do other topics. You've delved into different aspects of history, you've delved into I forgot what else I wrote.
It's so many things, Beth. We literally forget them as well.
Yeah, I often have to double check and make sure I haven't done something already.
I actually caught myself doing that. I think it was 2 weeks ago. I'm thinking, or when I was trying to decide on a guest item for this month, the next one. It's I asked Deb, I said, did we have these guys on before? I know we had on this one, but we didn't have on both of them, so we can have them on again. And we do repeat some of our guests.
Oh, yeah, we do repeat.
Yeah,
sure.
I was just thinking,
that's fine, but I can't do Germanic shamanism twice. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. I mean, you delve into some topics that, for lack of a better word, most normal people. Okay, I'm not normal, so I don't count. But yeah, and that's what I like. I like looking for, for me, I like to look for different topics. I don't want to listen to the same recap of the news 25,000 times on the same topics. I like the fact that different people are doing it, but I like to see different topics, and that's one of the things Deb and I and the girls try to bring is that we hit different things. Yeah, we do. We have been hitting the refugee bullshit a lot lately because it's such a big issue, and issue surrounding Trump, because it's. I mean, for those of us that live in the States, sorry, Deb, but even Deb, her country is getting the ramifications of what's going on here in our country.
Yep.
And a lot of people don't realize it's trickling out. So getting different voices, you and Tim is nice. Getting Cecil and Bobby and all we're gonna have Bra and getting all those voices.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. and see, now you guys, you go through all that work and research and all of that. We just find someone else that knows everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's part of the thing I enjoy about it too is, doing all, I mean, God, I can't tell you how much I love doing research. It's just so much fun to me. But, I enjoy doing it on my own, and then before we actually sit down to record, just double checking myself to make sure I'm not like crazy off the rails, and that feels good when I'm like, oh sweet, I came to the general conclusion that it seems like most other people have on this, so that's nice. But yeah, we just, at a certain point, it was like, okay, I either have to do something with all this research, or I have to find a way to curb how much time I'm spending doing this, and the podcast just seemed like
Good luck.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a blog that goes with the podcast? Do you write as well?
No. We've kicked around with Aaron from Waiting for Wrath to basically take we pretty much, I mean, I guess from, I don't know at what point we decided, but we basically like Matt will script an episode and I'll script an episode. Yeah. We generally allow for like interruptions from the other person, but sometimes we'll script the other person to say something stupid.
Yeah, I love doing that.
Yeah. So Aaron has basically said that like he could basically take our scripts and like put them in like some blog content form on our website. We're kind of hesitant on it just because it would mean we would have to go back and spell check every goddamn script we've ever written, some of which are like, 10, 15, 20 pages long. I mean, I've got a Scientology suite that I'm going on episode 5 or 6, Matt.
Like 6. I think it's going to be 6, I think.
So I mean, it's probably 70 pages long. I mean, by the time I'm done with this last episode, hopefully it's the last goddamn episode.
Tough. I've been doing it since 2001, and I'll get into a topic that my longest piece so far is about 22,000 words, and it took me probably a month and a half to write. I'm in the midst of one right now. I'm up to 18,000 words, and I'm not even half done yet. So yeah,
my goal is one a week. And I'm lucky if I do one a month.
Yeah.
Because there's so much. I don't like to do anything without links. Yeah. Unless I'm really clear that this is my opinion and this is what I think about this topic. Yeah. But if it's anything that's topical, you got to bring receipts. And and there's life, unless you're Dave fucking Rubin with making 30 grand a month off your Patreon, people got to work and you got to raise your kid and you got shit to do. So I don't have, it's hard to dedicate the time to do it. And sometimes I'm so overwhelmed with just the state of current affairs in the world. I'm like, oh my God, this sucks. I'm doing needlepoint.
Yeah,
I just can't cope with it. So my goal is one a week, but it's been a year. It's been over a year and a half, and I still can't commit to one a week. So
I'm in the middle of doing. Sorry, I'm in the middle of doing research right now on Christian Science, and I'm specifically researching Mary Baker Eddy, and it is a frustrating slog of nonsense bullshit because it's like you have to sift through what she says about herself and what everyone else says actually happened, and then try to reconcile that to like some cohesive form of truth, but also try to represent both sides, because a lot of the ethos and like the ideas behind Mary Baker Eddy are around what she actually says happened. So you need to represent those things, and it's not a big research topic, but there's also not a ton out there about her. And like the one book, like there's like a seminal book on Mary Baker Eddy, and it's in no audio form anywhere, and it's like 600 pages long, and I'm like, fuck, I cannot read that. So it's like
not in the like week or two maybe that we have, you know.
Yeah. So like I'm like trying to piece everything together, and like you know, like we're a research-based podcast, so like I feel like I need to, like, I read something, I'm like, oh, all right,
research and
like,
dick joke. Come on.
Yes, true. But like I like read something and I'm like, all right, now I need to try to find that at least like one or two other places to make sure that that's actually what the hell happened. You know, like, because there's, and I'll like ruin like a small joke on our show coming up, but like there's a point where Mark Baker, her dad, kills a crow with his walking stick because it violated the Sabbath. And I'm like, what the fuck does that even mean? How does a crow violate the Sabbath?
And like, buddy.
Yeah, but
it did,
I found it in like
things.
Yeah, but like I found it in 3 or 4 different sources, and I'm just like, wow. I'm like, how is that a thing? Why is that a thing?
Well,
and it was very important.
To give you an idea concerning research, now I'm a little extreme. I have 6 browsers loaded on my computer. Between the 6 browsers, I now have over 150,000 links.
And that's after she lost 75,000 once before.
1,000 last year. Well, 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
You have 125,000. What? I didn't hear what you had.
Over 154,000 links. So
to
other websites, articles.
Holy shit.
Okay, I have
I'm gonna hire Beth.
17,000 PDFs and books on my computer.
Yeah.
I think I know why your internet's slow, Beth.
Yeah, that's partly why. I also have 3 external hard drives thanks to my lovely co-op. And that's the reason why.
I've sent her 2 external hard drives already. So.
Say like your computer weighs 90 pounds. It's just from PDF
just
files.
It's like the size of a room.
But I can understand the research. Like I did a bid on MMS, which is Mineral Miracle Solution.
Mm-hmm.
It's touted by Jim Humble and Carrie Rivera.
Bleach Enemas
is now jumped ship.
Yep.
Yes, thank you.
Oh.
She's now jumped ship for GMAF, but I ended up buying her book, his new book, all in PDF. Downloading, I think, 3,000 or plus different scientific papers that I could get my hands on that I didn't have to pay for. One was so good, I actually paid the $45 for. So yeah, research can be a real bitch, but it's so much fun.
Oh, it's like I enjoy it immensely, and like, you know, I don't say that to like I'm not saying it's the kind of bitch, but it can be frustrating when it's such a simple little thing that you're trying to clear up. It's like, why did her dad beat a crow up with his stick? Like that doesn't make any sense.
Did any of your sources actually say what the crow had done that was so offensive?
No, everything
smoked a cigar and had a bourbon.
Yeah,
and like
sounds like my kind of crow.
Yeah, and it's like the Warner Brothers crows that like smoke the cigars. But the one thing that's frustrating with her is every single source that I've ever read says she had an accident when she was a kid. No source says what the it is, and she doesn't say what it is. And it's like, I like, what was the accident? Somebody tell me what the goddamn accident was. It's just like something happened, and
because
then
it's so often so telling.
Yeah,
you know, like
it's like
Ellen G. White.
It's like Ellen G. White. She got kicked in the goddamn head. Like, yes, I get that.
Yeah. You turned into Ellen G. White that we know. Yes. You know, like that's such important information. You know,
what happened to Mary Baker Eddy?
Yeah.
That sounds like a good documentary.
Maybe you should write a history thesis.
I know, right?
Maybe that's why they don't tell you what it is, because maybe she did get clubbed over the head at some point.
Or maybe she was the crow that her dad beat.
Yeah, her dad has beat the shit out of the crow. Yeah.
The metaphor.
There are reports of people that have some kind of traumatic accident, and next thing they know, they're like, "Oh, I can talk to dead people now," or I can see the future.
I see Jesus.
I don't want to leak too much of the episode, but there's definitely a lot of that, and with her specifically, like I'm growing to dislike her more and more, like that I write about her and the more that I read about her. So
what era was she? Is it Victorian?
Yeah, she born 1816 or 1821. Okay. 1816 or 1821.
Okay. So that's
I'm gonna have to listen because my great aunt was a Christian scientist as well as my brother's piano teacher.
Oh,
hey,
cool.
I need to break it to you just so you're not really shocked when it comes out. There's no science in it.
You don't say.
Well, I deal with a lot of that, especially with the anti-vax crowd and the woo-woo crowd.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I used to mix Christian scientists up with Scientologists.
Yeah, that's common.
Yeah.
Yeah, same. And then I would get confused because when I was in England, I would see things like the Christian Scientist Library.
Yep.
And things like that, of that nature. But then I remember I was in London and I was just walking and I turned around and there was a Scientology headquarters in London.
Yep.
Or whatever it was. And I was just like, what the fuck is that? And I was like, run away, because I'd heard horrors. And I was like, if they know I'm a podcaster on my little tiny ass podcast no one listened to at the time. I don't know. I was just afraid because I'd seen like, the documentaries where they like film you and crazy shit and say you're an oppressor or whatever. And I was just like, I'm going to walk now to a pub and drink
Tim went to
this moment.
The L. Ron Hubbard Museum.
The L. Ron Hubbard Life Museum.
Yeah, Life Museum.
Where is that?
In Los Angeles.
That's in LA. Yep.
Yeah, and I've probably, besides, I don't even, but like I've probably done the most amount of time like talking about Scientology than I suppose Ono Ross and Carrie probably did a little bit longer just because that series was so freaking long. But I mean, like I've done an extensive like suite on them and pretty in depth. And I went to the L. Ron Hubbard Life Museum, didn't tell them my full name, but told them my name. And like my wife was kind of pissed that I actually went there. Like she was nervous that something was going to happen.
Because let's not kid ourselves. They have listened to those episodes.
Yeah.
They're like,
for sure.
They're the kind of religion that needs to Google themselves daily to see what people are saying.
We've done 4 episodes now with we have 2 ex-Scientologist friends that will come and discuss it on the show with us, and they were both in for 9 years roughly. One's American and one is English, but he lives in Ireland. But they're our most listened to shows.
Where a lot of people don't realize how sinister Scientology really is.
Yeah.
They hear the Tom Cruise stories and
I think that's less so now.
The Xenu stories, and they think, oh my gosh, that's such a joke, but they don't realize how basically it's a huge money making enterprise with slave labor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's becoming more and more exposed. I mean, between like My Scientology Movie, between the Lena Dunham series, Going Clear.
Yeah.
What's that?
Leah Remini.
Yeah. Leah, sorry. Yeah.
The book by Jenna Miscavige Hill is also very very good. And
Ron Miscavige as well. I mean, like I think it's becoming more exposed.
Yeah, the Going Clear documentary HBO did, which I referenced earlier. That was a big, because I thought I knew about Scientology, and then I saw that, and I was just like, oh, it gets crazier and crazier the more you learn about it. It's interesting to see it evolve. Like you can see a religion sort of evolve in real time.
That's why,
which is also
modern
interesting.
religions.
That's why I love Scientology and Mormonism.
Yep.
Yes.
Those are my two favorite things that I've ever written about are those two, because it's just like to really be able to follow the arc of this egocentric religion that kind of morphs into something a little bit different, but stays pretty close to the fact that it's more about the ego of the actual founder is just beautiful to watch. And then to actually watch the people who follow it kind of like fall into that cycle. It's freaking fascinating.
What's so amazing?
I've been the evolvement to like match, like, you know, because when the Mormon church was like, oh, never mind, Jimmy Carter, the night before you're supposed to take away our tax status, black people are totes okay. Yeah, it's like interesting to see how that thought evolves, and you can see it sort of in real time because it is so new, as opposed to, you know, things like Islam and Christianity and Judaism, which are so old. You know, it's just like, yeah, you have records, but a lot of them are missing.
That's like that's really the underpinning.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
That's really like the underpinning of our show is really to try to draw the parallels between a lot of the modern religions that we can see all of those flaws. I mean, like, just like to look at the Mormon church, and like there were so many points in the Mormon Suite that I wrote where it was literally just Joseph Smith, or as I call him, Jojo, just in the middle of the night, picking up his tent and running out of town because they were about to get run out. And then everyone would just kind of follow him after. Like, he would just leave everyone behind. Just, you know, pick up his bag of cash and just run out of town, and then be like, nope, now we need to be here. And then everybody like, oh, okay, we'll kind of trudge on over there. So like trying to draw the parallels between the underpinnings of like Mormonism, of Scientology, you know, we went back to like Millerism and Seventh-day Adventism, you know, like some of like the more like Great Awakening kind of
Seventh-day Adventist.
Jehovah's Witnesses, like those kind of contemporary religions where we can really kind of follow the arc of what happened with these people. The Mary Baker Eddies, as frustrating as she is, but try to draw those parallels back to things like Christianity, like Islam, like Hinduism, like Buddhism, and actually show that it's not necessarily the fact that those are older so they must be better. It's that, hey, they were probably exactly the same. It's just the veil of time that's obscured all of those details. And it's become this monolithic type of thing, as opposed to Scientology, which just looks like a lunatic's like fever dream. You know, and like, but like, that's what it probably was back then. Like, you know,
Absolutely.
It's not a monolithic thing. It's a patchwork of nonsense, just like everything.
But
exactly.
it's
That's what I was
so long
Chris
to work on those patches. You know, that it looks like it makes sense in the culture where you're raised with that, and that intrinsically makes sense to you because you've been raised to not really question it, you know. But like the Seventh-day Adventist guy was a fucking printer, right? And he's like, I need to find something to print.
Nope, that was Ellen G. White. You're thinking Charles T. Hayes, Jehovah's Witness.
Right.
Charles Taze Russell.
Yes.
You mean Charles Taze Russell? Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, does that have a watchtower and all that stuff?
Yes.
Yep.
Because
Yes.
they're big about their printing empire and all that.
So many of these religions.
He owned a printing press before he started the religion, realized he could start a religion and make them buy books. So he then sold the people books.
Yeah, like so many of these religions, like you can look back and see these very foundational things that are hidden from us now, really. But if you go and do the reading and the research on it, it's like, oh, Ellen G. White like had a crippling fear of hell. What does her theology look like? Oh, there's no hell. You know, like just so many things like these foundational things started someplace really fucking weird, you know. And
well, like Joseph Smith, like when I've been in the crazy group, there's a Mormon guy who's posts memes all the fucking time, and I've gone head to head with it because I've studied Mormonism off and on for like a decade. So I've listened to David Michael, so I've read the Book of Mormon. You know, I used to lurk in Mormon bulletin board, ex and current Mormons. I got sort of both ends of it. And so this guy in the crazy group, he posts these memes all the time. And the first thing I come out with is, you know, did you not know that Joseph Smith was busted for fraud because he was telling people that the rock in the hat was saying where the buried treasure was? Like, this is in court records. Oh, it's all anti-Mormon. Like, I'm like, dude, you can look at the court records. Like, he was busted for this before he made up your religion. And, you know, it's just like talking to a brick wall. But I do
Have you all read Under the Banner of Heaven by John Krakauer?
Yes.
In which the guy who, if you have small children, I read it before I had kids. I'm not sure I could go back and reread it now. But it's about these two FLDS brothers who murdered their sister-in-law and her infant because supposedly God told them to.
Yeah.
And one of their cellmates, so John Krakauer interviewed these people in prison, or one of the brothers refused to speak to him and the other brother was quite talkative. And one of his cellmates was in jail for forgery because he had forged all kinds of documents basically saying that Joseph Smith was a giant fraud, and his #1 customer was the Mormon Church. So this man had forged documents that made it look like Joseph Smith was a fraud, and who bought those documents but the Mormon Church? Put them in a vault in the event that the church gets exposed. So the documents were fake, but the church didn't know that. They thought they were real, and so they bought them.
What was this?
So there's just all. There's so much. I mean, there's so much. I don't know. I just, to me, I just wonder about who signs up for. Hey, you want to worship? You want to join this church where it was founded by a guy who stuck his face in a hat and was dictated to by magic rock, who told him what some golden plates were that were buried by an angel. Like, hey, sign me. I'm going. Like, I'll be there on Sunday morning.
That's
who does that?
That's something you don't learn for a very long time. It's very similar to Scientology. Like, you don't get the Xenu story when you walk into a Sea Org, or a Scientology center. Sorry, like,
and you don't get the magic underwear and secret handshakes until you've been in it.
You're in the temple itself, like, till you're a full blown Mormon. You know, so it's that slow process of like, here's a little bit of dab of this. Do you like it? Yeah. Okay. Well, how about a little more of this?
Yeah. Well, wait.
You still okay?
A few months to get used to that, okay, and then we'll give you something new.
You're still good with that? You're good with that? You're good with that? And it's volcanoes and nuclear weapons. Are we good now? No?
Still good? Still good?
And then you got money.
They call it milk before meat. That's what the Mormons call it.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, that's the terminology.
That's a phrase. It sounds
pornographic.
It does.
Well, it's in the Christian Bible
before
too.
They can eat meat. So you need to learn. You need to progress your way to the meat of the issue by first having milk and then being weaned from that to meat. Is what they're saying. But yeah, Mormons have a lot of weird little sayings, like the burning in the bosom and all that.
Yes,
they're really white.
Yeah. Strictly so until 1967 or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or 76,
when
the fuck it was.
Prophet magically revealed.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta love that. You know, as soon as like a government cracks down on them, God has told us that yes, we should listen. And it's like, no, you don't want to like lose your tax status or get kicked out of the state that you took over or whatever. It has nothing to do with revelation.
The whole thing, like, you know, one of the arguments for that was, listen, God knew that we weren't ready yet, but like it fucking says in the Bible, like God isn't a respecter of persons. Like you just do your fucking damnedest to obfuscate and make sure that your flock swallows it hook, line, and sinker, and you're good to go. You know, and you have all the cards. You have all the cards. You know, you can't lose, and it's frustrating. But with like Scientology, the more and more and more and more that this stuff is out here, we're not affecting the people who are in it nearly as much as we are affecting the people who would be possible converts to it.
Exactly.
You know, and that's the fight we can win.
people ask me, because I love debating. I do it all the time, and I take on, you know, Muslims, Scientologists. I haven't really got into it with Scientologists but Mormons and Christians and whatever, I don't care. Hydro prophets, right?
Yeah.
And people always go, well, why do you bother? Because they're so far gone, you're never going to change their mind, blah blah blah. And it's like, no, it's not about the guy I'm arguing with, because I'm pretty sure I won't change that guy's mind either. Because if he's running around in a group going, I'm a hydro prophet, and thinks that's cool, I can't help that guy, most likely. Yeah. But there are people that read it, and they're, like you said, people that might be thinking about it, or that are questioning what they're doing now, that sort of stuff. That's
or people who are desperate for an answer. You know, like we cannot forget that aspect. Like, you know, people who need something desperately, and someone might glom onto that. You know, my dad was that kind of person that if it was something to do with health, man, he was going to give it a shot, you know, and things that were actively harmful. You know, I'm fucking half deaf in my one ear from some of the bullshit he did. You know, so it's not just an intellectual exercise. You know, that it's exactly. Go ahead, continue. I just had to rant there.
No, that's fine. I kind of lost my train of thought though, but you know,
I'm gonna capitalize on Deb losing her train of thought and interject my own, because it's all about me. Nice. You know, part of the reason, and I've talked about this before, I'm having a little bit of an existential crisis in terms of the overall objective of my page, which is Godless Mama, but one of the things that I think is most important for me is to sort of smack talk religion, not just because it's about, you know, owning all things religious, but I think it's important to destigmatize calling religion on its bullshit. There's too much of, well, you can't say that because you have to be, you know, you have to tread lightly where people's religious beliefs are concerned, whereas you don't have to tread lightly where people say political beliefs are concerned. Yeah. You know, nobody has any problem saying you're a Democrat, you fucking libtard. You know, nobody hesitates to say anything like that. So I think that we need to destigmatize, like, religion is just an ideology like any other ideology, like communism or you know, libertarianism, or which also needs to be mocked, by the way. So, you know, I think that there's there's a real social benefit, societal benefit in calling a spade where religion is concerned. I think that that's really critical.
Yep, that's the other reason why I do it too. But we have hit just almost the 2-hour mark, I think. It's hard to say because we got our start so fucked up. But it is after midnight here now, and which is later than we usually go. So I think we'll go ahead and wrap things up. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
That was fun.
Yeah. It's not as fun as doing it at your desk, though, Matt. I have to say, because I know, with the dog and the child and all of that fun stuff.
Yeah. I had a bunch of people. Well, not a bunch. A few people came to that house specifically for podcast stuff, and I always thought that was pretty cool. So thank you for coming over. That was fun.
Excellent. I enjoyed it. My husband had a good nap, so we were all good. And Tim, too bad I didn't get to meet you that time, but good to see you as well.
Yeah, we'll meet you at ReasonCon, right?
Absolutely.
Oh, you guys both coming? Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So Beth and Morgan and I will be all there. I hate having to leave Tracy out all the time with that, but Beth and Morgan and I will be there.
As she said, she doesn't go anywhere, so.
I'm old and square. I don't do anything.
Yeah, Beth's older than you, and I think I might be too. So
definitely
I'm also square.
Yeah, I'm much more square, believe me.
But you're also
I couldn't pass up the chance to see Aaron.
Yeah. You're also a mom, though, and we have to give you kudos for that because
I don't like leaving her.
I know.
Don't.
I get it.
I can see my husband will be here taking care of the cats, so I don't have to worry about that. But anyway, if you gentlemen, I don't know who wants to want to tell us where we can find you and listen to the fruits of all your wonderful research.
Tim, let's race. See who can do it quicker.
Nope.
At the same time.
Nope.
Oh. God damn it.
You're the one holding. You're the one holding. I gotta say, Matt's been sitting there holding his microphone in his hand the entire
the whole time.
Yep, my mic stand and all my shit is down in the shipping container waiting for us to get a house. So I'm either too cheap or too lazy to go buy another mic stand. So I just hold it.
Yeah, so you can find us at Atheism101podcast.com. Check out our website. You can find us on the Twitters and the Facebook at Atheism101 Pod or Atheism101, something along those lines. We got
on Facebook.
What is it?
Atheism101 Podcast, I think, on Facebook. Just search that. Will come up.
Yep. And you can email us at atheism101podcast@gmail.com if you have any questions, comments, or concerns about Matt's ears. And beyond that, thank you so much for having us on.
You are very, very welcome. And ladies, we'll start with Beth. Where do we find you?
Easiest way to find me is on Twitter, Dune998. That connects to my blogs as well as to Facebook, which is Beth A. Hambridge. And due to our technical difficulties, I did make up a new segment continuing with Twat Waffles of the Week, and it is published on YouTube. That's under Beth Hambridge as well. So
I'll play it next week. I'm sorry.
Well, I'll have a new one for next week, so...
Well,
that's okay.
We might be a week behind because everything got so fucked up that, yeah.
Oh, hey, no. It's published on YouTube. It's if we had time. We didn't have time. It was much better talking to Tim and Matt. So, no biggie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But,
what isn't better
that's
than
easiest way
talking
to
to
find me.
Matt?
Most things.
Awesome. And Ms. Morgan, where do we find you?
All right. Well, if you want to see my salty tweets, you can follow me at Mostring. That's MOSTRING. And you can email me at nrrmorgan@gmail.com because I'm too lazy to change that email address. And you can friend me at Morgan L. Stringer. Just let me know that you're not a Russian porno bot.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Do I have to add numbers to do that? I'm really bad at adding numbers.
Yeah.
Oh shit!
Those captions always get me.
Hey, I've been getting porn bot spam text messages lately.
Oh wow!
Ooh.
Yeah,
that's a new level of intrusion.
Yeah, like 26 likes you and a link and. Yeah. Or hot 26 girl wants you. I'm like, that's nice. I don't want you.
So you can find me at hot 26 girl.
Very nice. Very nice. I like it.
My blog is godlessmama.com. And I am on Facebook, Godless Mama. And I am on Twitter at The Godless Mama.
Awesome. And of course, you can also find me Sunday morning / Saturday night at 12:05 a.m. on Holy Crap, the Vlogcast, run by my good friend Shujin Tribble. And 6 or 8 of us weirdos from different countries talking about all kinds of different things. Yeah, and that's whatever Shujin decides we're going to talk about. Next week, we are going to be here, of course, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, hopefully with everything working. Guess what I get to do this week? We're going to be talking to Professor Steven and Flat Earth, the good professor, and we're going to talk about Flat Earth. So
awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, we had him on the blast. He's excellent. He's great. He was over to my house too.
Well, actually, the day I came to your house, I had coffee with him that afternoon because we went to Biltmore and all that fun stuff.
Yep, I'm going to shut up. I was going to tell another story about him. I ran into him completely not even knowing that he lived in Asheville, and it was awesome. But that's it. That's the only story I'm going to tell. All right, I'm going to shut up.
But yeah, so that'll be next week is the good Professor Stephen talking about flat Earth. And I've been negligent the last couple of weeks, but we do want to mention, of course, the Taylor Scholarship over at Whitefield's Educational Foundation. They provide counseling for people who are leaving or have left religion and need assistance with that. And the Taylor Scholarship provides funding for people who need counseling but are not able to afford it. Was started by David Michael of My Book of Mormon. So the URL is whitefieldseducational.org/My Book of Mormon podcast, which is a good cause if you feel like giving to someone. We do have a Patreon. We use it to pay for Spreaker, which if it keeps crashing is going to be in dispute. But if you feel like throwing us a couple of bucks, we would greatly appreciate that as well. And as we mentioned, you will be seeing Morgan and Beth and I and Tim and Matt at ReasonCon in less than 3 weeks in Hickory, North Carolina. So do check that out. That's April 21st and 22nd. There was talk of those who had regular tickets that might be able to upgrade to a VIP ticket. And I highly recommend that because that would entitle you to see Miss Shelley Siegel in concert. And she is amazing and just a dream to listen to. So you should definitely do that if you can. But come down to Hickory if you are able, and everybody who's cool in podcasting will be there because, well, we're all going to be there. So
exactly.
Except for me.
Well, I know. I always feel bad about that, man. But you know what? I know we need to get, ladies, we need to get one of those standees cutouts of Tracy.
A cutout of Tracy, yes.
With like a webcam on it and just wheel it around.
There we go. There we go.
Oh, my God.
Awesome. So I think that about wraps it up for this week. And again, gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Yep.
The outro is going to be a little choppy because I don't have my nice program working that makes it all smooth. But we will leave you, as we do every week, with Dave Foda and his Only Creed for Humankind. And we will see everyone next week. And it's going to take me a second to get that going because I'm a dork and I don't have everything working. So here we go. Oh, and I hit the wrong one. Yeah. Oh, no, it is the right one. Good thing is I can edit this out of the audio later. Come on. Play. Technology is fabulous when it works. Okay, so we're going to close that and try it again. There we go.
I know the truth and power of reason and of rational thinking, and I will use them to my advantage. I know the truth and power of educating myself and of expanding my intellectual boundaries, and I will educate myself. I know the truth and power of vanquishing ignorance, and I will do so whenever the opportunity presents itself. I know the truth and power of morality without supervision, and of true and accurate righteousness. I know the truth and power of obliterating tyranny, be it intellectual, emotional, or philosophical, and will work toward that goal whenever and however possible. I know the truth and power of human ingenuity. I know the truth and power of human compassion, and I will be mindful of the welfare of others. I know the truth and power of equality and fairness for all living things. I know the truth and power of the importance of our families, our friends, and our fellow men and women. I know the truth and power of human stewardship of our lands, our waters, and our skies, and I will try to act to preserve our environment. I know the truth and power of the sciences of mathematics, of physics, and of chemistry, and of the important role of these disciplines in understanding the workings of this cosmos. I know the truth and power of the rejection of all notions or beliefs that reside in the supernatural or the superstitious, and of those notions or beliefs that we are not supposed to be able to explain. And I know that these rejections are necessary for humankind's survival. I am a human being with a free mind, liberated from irrational influence and from unreasonable dogma.